All right, we are live for the Friday edition of the Morning Check-In. As always, excited to be back. Looking forward to connecting, finding out what you guys are keeping your eye on. And over the last maybe 10 hours, give or take, definitely into the late evening last night. War bombs dropping. Did they drop? I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. The media is so man, it's so sketchy nowadays. You can't tell what's truthful and what's not. And so I see reports about bombs dropping, and of course, gold surged. And then you hear some reports from the Eastern Hemisphere saying that nothing happened. So it's like, how do you read into this, man? It's getting harder and harder. But anyway, looking forward to connecting, man. Curious to hear what you guys are keeping your eyes on, what your thoughts are. And I was, running a little bit behind as always, just last minute thoughts, and especially with gold reaching all-time highs in all fiat currencies. And one narrative or one spin on this angle has been more so about the Eastern driven new price discovery with all the activity happening out east and whatever. But also within our own country, a different way of looking at it is that it's the response or the catalyst that has come about from this current administration's policies and war efforts and everything else that has a lot to do with the whole concept of Bidenflation, which is the result as well of gold reaching all-time highs or the purchasing power of the dollar continuing to trend towards its ultimate destiny of zero of some capacity. So anyway, got to put together a little updated a visual aid that I haven't shown in a while, just to highlight how we can also call this recent gold activity. We can also give Biden the credit as well, and so I called it Biden's gold rally. So just want to share some thoughts with you. Have fun this Friday, man. Outside of all the other things happening our way. So for those who are plugged in, man, appreciate you for blessing me with your presence. Feel free to throw out some thoughts, ideas, suggestions in the chat, and then we'll try to get to some Q&A. So as far as tabs, nothing really serious going on here. It's going to be more of a laid-back stream just because I want to, check in with you guys and get your thoughts. And I bookmark a lot of things on X or Twitter. And so definitely I want to find out what's going on. So here we have Ed checking in, Jesus is King. We got Neil's checking in. We got MW checking, says petrol up price 4%. Yeah. So last night, especially last night until, maybe until midnight, I was just I had a little tweet storm, and I'll share some of those with you as well. Aces of Silver, what's up, my friend? Cal C says, the magnificent 7 stocks are intertwined with each other like a pit of vipers. Oh, 100%. Wherever those 7 stocks go, the world follows. And also, just let me UAE flooded. Oh my goodness, I'll be seeing them videos. You got boats driving down the freeway. Like they have gone above and beyond with the cloud seeding, basically just throwing all types of crazy weather. And I'd imagine the media from within that region it has everything to do with climate change. They're literally bombarding their people with, I'm sure, propaganda saying that climate change, this, whatever. Because mind you, last year or two here in the U.S., we've had all types of crazy things between the wildfires, forest fires, burn, all the things that were pointed to climate change here. We're all suspect, questionable. We know it's a greater agenda. It has a lot to do with the whole ESG, the green movement, and the globalist desire to commoditize and financialize more debt instruments to cater towards cutting down our ability to move and travel freely, saying that, carbon that we admit and that comes from being productive is bad for the environment. So it looks like it might be the Middle East turn to experience some of that same foolishness. So we'll get to that, but those are some good topics for sure. So speaking of which, a lot of the trade brokers, the hedge, I mean not trade broker, but the what you call interactive broker, Robinhood, all those investment platforms, literally last night in the midst of all the alleged Middle Eastern conflicts. I say alleged just because, as I mentioned, started us off saying a lot of reports give differing viewpoints on what really happened. Once again, I'm not there, so we'll kind of get more information as the morning unfolds, I'm sure. But for all that to have happened within the last 10 hours and for the markets to be very greenish now, things are not adding up, man, one bit. Let me see. Chip says Robbie Fiber is warning Biden's climate emergency declaration will enact totalitarian controls. No doubt, and that whole agenda has everything to do with what's been initiated from the World Economic Forum and their Build Back Better model, and ultimately leading to the Great Reset. So all that stuff is still in play, man. So it's more so, will it happen fast or slow? But no matter what, it seems like it's going to come to fruition because this could be a long, drawn out process, man. Okay, but before I get into that, hold those thoughts. We'll get back to those. I want to start off, as always, with some good news. Get into the primary subject matter, which happens to be with that conflict in, the Middle East, and did they get bombed? Did they not? We'll talk about that, and then get into some market activity. And then I won't share my thoughts on, how this current gold rally can be also accredited to Biden. And so taking the Bidenflation turned upside down and calling this a Biden rally when it comes to gold. So showing you a chart here that plays into my overall thesis of where the monetary restructuring is heading. And of course, metals are at the center of that. So, all right, man, for those who are plugged in, definitely appreciate you for your blessing with your presence, man. If you have not, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, whether you're on Rumble or YouTube. Definitely let me know via comments if you're watching the replay. And if you have not, make sure you connect on the social media tabs right here. And in particular, Telegram. Social media tab is in the description where we share articles, thoughts, ideas throughout the day. Good way to stay with the community for those who want to do that. And you can always stay plugged in. Okay, let's get into the good news, man. Let's not waste any time. Today, April 19th. And this could cut this another word right on time, according to the day, an eternal focus. And so outside of all the things we've been fed, we've been bombarded with all types of stories. Let's focus on what matters. And that's the eternal focus of what God has in store for his children. So real quick here, I'll thumb through this. The goal is just to bless your socks off this morning, give you guys something to get your day started. Hopefully it will do that. It says, eternal focus. Do not work for the food which perishes, but for the food which endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. John 6:27. And then it goes on to say, if you are continually experiencing frustration, one reason may be your point of view. You see, although it's natural for you to focus on the problems directly before you, God's interest is in developing you for his eternal purposes. And when your immediate interest and his everlasting goals collide, you may experience frustration. And when your immediate interest and his everlasting goals collide, you may experience frustration. I can testify to that right now. For example, you may plead for the Father to move quickly in solving your problems, but his priority is developing godly character in you. If your troubles serve his aim, they will endure regardless of how uncomfortable they make you. This is why it's exceedingly important for you to pursue God's point of view, seeing his worthy, timeless objectives rather than your temporary aspirations. Because when you focus on the eternal, you begin to understand how the Father is working all things for your good. So today, what is causing your frustration? Look for God's everlasting purposes in those circumstances, because when you do, you'll find the peace and strength to persevere no matter what challenges assails you. And the closing prayer is, Lord, I accept your everlasting purposes. Please help me learn these lessons quickly. Amen. 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 All right. Yeah, man. Yeah. The collision of your ambitions and desires and God's will lead to frustration. I'm sure we all got our moments and points where we battle that way or struggle that way. And so even in the midst of all the stuff going on now, I comment about what's happening around the world, what's happening to us, what we're experiencing, while also in the back of my mind or in the front of my mind, trying to realize what God is trying to do through me and through everybody else as well. And not getting caught up in the worldly affairs, but then again, I'm in the world and, keeping my mind on eternal purpose, as this devotion talked about. So just a little nugget for those who are also experiencing some of the same frustrations, perhaps. So hope it's a blessing to you, man. Put it in the Lord's hands. Okay, let's get into it, man. Before I do that, let me also just remind people, got to make sure I continue to encourage people where to go for resources on how to stay plugged in and stay monetarily informed. All right, let's get it, people. All right. So as always, more people taking a quiz. Appreciate you guys, man. And for those who are sharing it as well, just giving people opportunity to see where that knowledge gap is at. So here we got rethinkingthedollar.com/quiz. 10 quick questions make a world of difference, help you understand the difference between what you don't know and what you need to know. So head over there, take the 10 questions, see where you stand, and then follow the 3 monetary steps of savviness, which I got in the description here, help you get knowledgeable and up to date on what's happening. Real sweet and simple. All right. And lastly here, I want to make sure I encourage people, go and find out how you can protect and preserve yourself. So here we got colonialsmetalsgroup.com/RTD. Links in the description. This is a place where you can talk to the experts on how to take possession of what is yours, your hard-earned retirement. Put it in gold and silver. If you foresee it being of value to you, you can find out from them exactly the process to do that through a self-directed IRA. Fill out the form here. Somebody will reach out to you, and you can speak to them, or you can give them a call, 1-888-521-2448. Speak with the experts and basically get your questions answered. Find out if this is something that's good for you or not. Link is in the description with all the details. And also, for those who qualify, you get a chance to get some silver added to your stack and a free vault. So just something worthwhile for those who are interested. Check them out if you foresee it being of use to you. Okay, let's get into it, man. So as of right now, so this is what is confusing to me. So let me just go and we'll start off with all the activity from last night. So I'm going to just share with you real quick my Twitter feed from last night. And let me go back here. And we'll just jump right into it from there. So let me just start off with, okay, so literally last night, this is what we had. This is what's going on last night. So we're going to go from late last night to today. So this happened 12 hours ago. Gold is off to the races. I posted this, and this was at the time where, of course, the Asian market was open, and we got up to $2,412. Or I'm sorry, it got up to $2,415-ish, and this was literally at midnight. And then I'm like, okay, silver was also took off to the races, got up to $28.92, and then of course it calmed down quite substantially. And I put silver wants to make a move, but the powers that be, they're not having it. It says can't let the people's money rally or else. And as I always say, wherever silver goes, that's where the world is going to ultimately go, because this is the last of the Mohegans that has not reached its all-time high. Then, of course, I said, it looks like we could be approaching 100 mark real fast with oil. So here we had also Brent was up $90.55 when I posted this. And this piggybacked on my little video I did, I think it was last week or earlier this week, about, expectations of gold or oil hitting 100. When it hits 100, it's going to shoot off. But then again, why is it not responding that way? And that's where we get into what's happening right now. So just looking at the price of gold at this current moment, it looks like, as always, markets open up and there was a slight cool off. So here we have all this activity here. Let me see. This is from today. Let me see here. We got 9:15. We got down. Let me just zoom in a little bit here so you guys see this. So literally, this was 23.84, and then we opened up the markets over here, got down to 23.75, and then it rallied back up, got up to 23.91, and now it's at 23.88. So regardless of what news comes out, whether it's war or whether it's a fake rally or whatever, for some reason, these markets are heavily controlled on purpose. And so good news is bad news is good news. Nothing makes sense. Everything's upside down. And so based upon previous times, whatever, there would be bombs dropping, supposedly metals would fly, and, uncertainty in the market would take place. But just, today, just, something a little bit different. And what am I referring to? Stock market today, Dow up 150 points as stocks fade overnight losses. Stocks fade. So really, if the world is having all that conflict in our region, typically the mainstream media, powers that be, political forces here will love to hyper focus on that and blow it up to beyond proportion. But for whatever reason, we all know they can't allow any negative news that typically will have markets respond negatively bring down this hopium rally that we're currently experiencing now. They can't afford to lose control of the narrative that the economy is moving along. There can be a possibility of a landing of some kind. And so literally It just goes to show how manipulated all these markets are right now. Nothing is real. Nothing is real. There's no true price discovery. There's no true valuations of nothing. All the fake risk assets are just is interesting, man. But shook off a rally. So let me keep it moving. Dow rises as traders shake off overnight Israel strike. So these are the Western mainstream propaganda media tools that are literally the reason why these markets are so fake. So here we go. This is what I was talking about. So WTI crude. This is what we've been experiencing here. So it shot up, but then all of a sudden traders brings it right on back down. And so it looks like the events happening between Iran and Israel is not that big of a deal to the markets, or are they deliberately trying to keep these things propped up? But it says oil prices briefly spiked more than 3% in Asia morning trading, with global benchmark crude Brent futures topping $90 a barrel. Crude futures have since given up those gains, with both the international benchmark and the West Texas Intermediates down slightly. So yeah, bombs drop and markets flop. Okay, sure. What else we got here? Let me share a couple other things here. Let me go back to my bookmark here. So I'm all out of order this morning just because I was scrambling trying to put together a little visual aid that I'm going to share in a minute. Let me get to where did my other page go? Give me a second here. Let me get myself together. Let me get myself together here. So just some of the things I want to highlight from what I bookmarked earlier. Let's get into just some of these things. So here is what I'm referring to. Things that caught my attention. So this is from Suman Ahmed. It says investigative journalist, geopolitics, whatever, 498,000 followers. So definitely does a good job of putting out information that people find valuable. So here we have breaking Iran statement 7 hours ago. This is 7 hours ago. American requests, including allowing an Israeli operation without Iran responding to it. It says here, the Americans asked Iran to allow a point between Iranian and Iraqi borders to be bombed. It says here, the Americans asked Iran to allow a point between the border to be bombed. It says, the Americans also requested that Iran allow them to bomb one of the empty islands in the Gulf and the central bordering area. So this is information coming out the Middle Eastern region where it paints the picture that the Western forces, the government agencies, are literally trying to stir up the narrative that the conflict between Iran and Israel is like some World War III type of level activity. But then again, if this statement is true, where supposedly the West, our government agencies, is asking Iran, so that means if that is true, if this statement is true, that means they're trying to work together to create this narrative. Proxy war, we want to call it, or whatever. And so it just things that makes me wonder if this is true, then how legitimate is any other information that we get about the conflicts between Israel and Iran and the responses? Because the way I reported yesterday, based upon information provided to us, that Israel is going to wait till after the Passover. But then again, here we supposedly had those bombs dropped last night. So we will see. Let me get back. So let me hear. What else we got here? So here we got more information here. This is from 10 hours ago. It says American media, including CNN and Fox News, report that Israel has carried out a limited strike inside Iran. Tonight, 3 small quadcopter drones, likely launched from inside Iran by dissident groups, were shot down by air defenses. Both, if it's a fine. No large-scale strikes or explosions caused by any foreign aerial threats have been reported, according to the IRNA. So this just once again things to make you wonder. This was came out last night or early this morning at 12:29 a.m. So this was reported according to the IRNA, which is the Iranian, government sources there. And it says here, all sensitive military and security installations in Isfahan, if I'm saying that correctly, province remain secure, including Natanz nuclear reactor. And so they also tagged the Middle Eastern Spectator. So once again, What are we getting out here? And so this is the question. What type of media are we getting? What is the agenda beyond just pure propaganda? So that's why this morning I'm like, okay, we got conflicting stories. Western media saying that all stuff is dropped, all bombs are dropping. Then we got sources from the Middle Eastern region saying it's not that big of a deal, it's not that bad, and that really is not the case. So once again, collaborated efforts behind all of these entities trying to deceive the world to make them think that this might be something bigger than what it really is. All designed to cover up what is probably the most important aspect of all of this, and it happens to be with the monetary reset taking place. So once again, curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this, man. What are you hearing? What sources are you guys keeping an eye on, and what narratives are you getting? Because I want to see where this all is ultimately heading. And Pete, you put it right on the nail. Follow the money. Follow the money. And so that is definitely something we're following. And speaking of following the money, let me share with you another duh, 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 duh. So I will share this with you. This video caught my attention just because literally this is the epitome of following the currency, where we got how the paper units, $100 notes, are actually created, and how we can expect a lot more of these instruments at some time in the future to really prop this up. But I just found this little 1 minute or so video to be very educational, because I'm thinking, like, they print this stuff so easily. Like the guy in the blue shirt, it's his job to basically sling that paper around, put it in there so they can stamp it, print it, and then you got the people going to look at it under the microscope. And like, to think about this is what life has evolved into, where everybody based their value, net worth, skill sets, and everything in USD terms, and then you exchange your value into the world, and in return you get these pieces of paper derivatives on top of the digits that reflect what people will consider the value of their lives. And it's unfortunate. I actually seen some reports. I'm out there now, but I saw a report where somebody said they lost a good substantial amount of their wealth. And we've known stories where people lose their dollar value in their so-called worth, and they end their lives, all based upon numbers from a screen that comes across so easily printed. It's like things that make you wonder. Okay, a couple more things I bookmark here. As always, I want to highlight this gentleman's work here, because he does a good job of giving us figures from the other side of the world. But this is as of this morning. Gold Shanghai Futures Exchange. We got an ounce of gold in USD terms, $2,441.45, and silver is $31.87, based upon the spot price on physical in the Shanghai exchange markets. And so here it says silver inventory on SEV set a new low again today. So yesterday it was a new low on the actual physical inventory in the vaults in the Shanghai is being depleted rapidly. And so let me see here. There was some commentary to this. Let me share this with you. It says April 19th, the market data of SGE, SVE, the silver vaults of SVE dropped today and set a new low again since COVID-19 pandemic. Investors here think that if the inventory continues to drop without replenishment, it will trigger a silver panic. So this is how I follow the money. Follow the physical gold, silver flows, and that'll tell you what they, meaning the orchestrator of this entire experimentation, is scared of. Literally, they can't lose control of the narrative surrounding what they want us to know, because on the back end, they're trying to cover up what they're ultimately afraid of, and that's the kryptonite to their monetary system, which is physical gold and silver. So we'll see how this plays out. And then, of course, we got Mr. Perez here shining some commentary as well. He highlighting trigger a silver panic. And then some more commentary says price of silver you post seems to include taxes. And then we got here silver squeeze, panic is coming sooner or later. And so literally, and this is just all referring to just physical silver. Physical silver. The difference between the West and the East, night and day. Night and day. So this is what they have to protect themselves from. So this leads me into the other subject that I started off with. We talk a lot about, or we've talked about, Bidenflation and its impact on people's pockets. And so that's what the mainstream media also jumped on that bandwagon as well. And let me share some things with you here. So even in just for laughing giggles, typing in Bidenflation, and you get all types of things there. They actually have a Ways and Means House of .gov archives throughout Biden's presidency, highlighting all the key articles put out there showing how problematic his policies or the policies that have been implemented in his name or on his behalf has been so detrimental to the U.S. economy, all designed to, I guess, control this reset and placate towards that, Build Back Better model that he promised when he ran for president back in 2020. But just typing in Bidenflation, you get all types of headlines. Says why Bidenflation defines Bidenomics, and Bidenflation adds up, and March's hot inflation. They got even Bidenomics equals Bidenflation Instagram page and all that stuff. And so even going to the archives I just mentioned, it just highlights prices have been rising since Biden took office. So this is the Ways and Means Commission, and it goes to all the different articles just highlighting Bidenflation. And so what has Bidenflation resulted in? It has sped up the Eastern's desire to dump U.S. treasuries because our deficits continue to grow, government expenditures continue to rise, national debt continually trending upward at 35 trillion plus all the other unfunded liabilities. So, we're well beyond the ability to sustain ourselves. And so the world's recognizing that. IMF talking about, as of right now, we're on an unsustainable path. Jerome Powell said fiscal spending is unsustainable. We know all that. And I'm like, okay, the counter to that is we know the obvious, but we haven't talked about what has been returning back to the limelight as a solution. And then that's when I want to get into some visual aids that I put together or whatever. So I've always shown let me share this, let me get rid of some things here. Actually, I got too many windows open. Give me 1 second here. I've always shown this particular visual aid here. So for those who may be new, don't know, but purchasing power of the consumer dollar as of right now. And so here we have 19 administrations all the way through from Woodrow Wilson, who the original signer of the Federal Reserve Act, all the way to today. And we've witnessed the diminishment of purchasing power, which is a result of the expansion of the monetary supply, eroding the current purchasing power of the units in circulation. The ones that we have in our possession over time will continue to purchase less and less and less as more of the units is created. Sure. Okay. So what does that show up in? That show up is consumer prices continue to go upward. So we're witnessing that. But also as, the day-to-day, the activity for our daily lives continue to increase in price, what we're witnessing is the world running back towards what is sound money. So sound money policies is picking up here in the U.S. That goes back to my discussion with the gentleman I spoke with, JP Cortez, showing how more states are literally going back to sound money. Okay, sure. And so what does that look like is the question here. So this is where I put together or I updated the figures rather for the Federal Reserve diminishing of purchasing power, but the counter to that in gold prices. So as you can see on the screen here, this is something that I will continue to keep updated just because I love infographics. But as you can see here, you take that same purchasing power, consumer purchasing power graph that I have here, and you invert it and you put it at the bottom, and it goes back to where 1913 is ground zero for the sake of this demonstration here. So actually so I can zoom in some and do more explaining. So here we got on the screen here. Let's take it on back. Take it on back. So literally 1913, the Federal Reserve note was worth $1. And none of this is adjusted for inflation. This is just, flat out figures. So from today to where we're at now, at that time, an ounce of gold, give or take, was $20. You see that figure on the screen here. And so as of now, as you can see here, as an actual USD terms, in terms of single units of currency, one USD note is what I'm using to gauge this by. So as you can see here on the screen, the inverted side of things, we go from 1913, the equivalent of an ounce was worth $20. Then you go to 1933 with the revaluation of gold once it was confiscated by FDR, went to $35. And as you can see here, this little blip here downward signifies the recapitalization of the U.S. Treasury with the revaluation of that gold. And so basically bought the government some time here. Then you go on right along. Let me keep it moving. So we go to the gold window being closed, 1971-ish, and then shortly thereafter, 1980, we had the spike. This is not adjusted for inflation, but this is just to figure that, on that day, on the highest day in 1980, according to the graph I use, got up to $677. So literally, during this gap here from 35, doing this from it being 35 an ounce to 1971, this 40-year time frame here, gold was illegal for citizens to hold. You couldn't hold gold legally as an investment vehicle. And then once they allowed it in 74, that's when it started to take off. Okay, so keep it moving. This type of stuff interests me. That's why I focus on this stuff. But anyway, so here we are now. Let's keep it moving. As we get into the era where literally we have no purchasing power, everything here basically double, triple. Valuations of housing shot through the roof. We got 2-income households now not being able to cut the bill, and all the other things that you add on to what happened down here. Now we got gold and USD terms continue to trend over. So just for time's sake here, we got going to 2011, peaked 1825, and then look at the purchasing power of $1 at this current moment. Some people say 2 cents. I already say it's sub-zero, but just for the sake of keeping it, relatively calm. Here we got, as of today, just to use these bootleg figures we've been given, we're working on the equivalent of 2 cents going back to 1913 in reference to what you can purchase. So literally, you can't really get anything for $1 nowadays. That's why I say it's sub-zero, because you got to put taxes on top of that. And even worst case scenario, you get a pack of gum. Pack of gum costs, $1.25 or something like that. So we're already sub-zero. But what does that reflect in? This is what I call the Biden rally. So under Biden's administration, due to the policy put in place, we are now at 2,400-ish ballpark. And we ain't seen nothing yet. So this is what 111 years of the Federal Reserve note has done to the world and to us as citizens here. Diminishing of purchasing power in reference to these liabilities here, and the appreciation in USD terms of the true, sound, and tested monetary metal here. So this is what the Biden rally looks like in gold terms. And once again, we ain't seen nothing yet because, as I've said, Biden will be the last president under this current administration where we will be using the current payment railway with the commercial bank ledgers and the paper representatives from that collaborate with the Fed. That's all being rebranded right now. Hence the whole idea of CBDCs and all the things that's coming after this next market joke. So Biden is the last president of this old monetary world order. And then we get into whatever comes next. So this is just a little walkthrough of some things that I wanted to highlight this morning. And all right, let's get into a couple more stories here real quick. And then I'm curious to get your thoughts on what else we got going on here. Let me see what else I got here. Interesting story here. This is something that we will probably find out more about. Xi orders China's biggest military reorganization since 2015. What exactly is he preparing for? Could this have anything to do with Taiwan, perhaps? And so think about this. If this Middle Eastern conflict between Iran and Israel is not as big as they want it to really be, because they can't afford to really kick off a World War III, because there are no winners when it goes to that point. And so perhaps Xi is also preparing for that next tier of a conflict where it'll have the U.S. entangled. We're already stretched thin with our military activity, but between the Russian-Ukraine proxy war, that's one. The Israeli, us helping defend Israel with our aircraft, military and stuff presence in there, that's two. China and Taiwan could be three. And, once again, that's going to require more funds, more expenditures, more currency creation, which things are looking kind of skimpy right now. So you better believe there will be more bills passed, more aids passed. It's just a matter of time. Anyway, it says, read this real quick. He said, move follows an ouster of several top military figures in 2023. Strategic support force dissolves as new unit takes its place. So looks like Xi shaking things up in his country in preparation for something. Everybody's getting militarized right now. What are they going to do? What are we going? What are we expecting? So, what else I got here, article wise? Anything else worth bringing to your attention? Um, here is something that let me see if I can. Let me see. Uh, so it looks like in Chicago. Let me show this. Says Chicago residents in the MAGA hats tear into Democrats mayor for allotting 70 million to migrants, and they say we need the money more than they do. So those woke cities, Chicagoans blasted Mayor Johnson during a meeting on Wednesday. Johnson has a proposed 70 million in taxpayer funds for migrant care. Angry citizens argue that that he used it on them and threatened to recall him. So it looks like, yeah. I mean, see, that's subject matter of taking U.S. taxpayer funds to support foreigners that are here illegally and to help improve and better their time here over our own citizens makes absolutely no sense. Along with everything else I stated earlier in the day, how the Israel war situation makes no sense. Yeah, we're being played for some suckers, people. We're being played for some fools directly. And yeah, when and how does this all end? We will see. All right, man. What else we got here? Let's get into some thoughts. So, what else are you guys keeping eyes on that's worth bringing to the fold? Um, Federal Reserve top took value and wealth out of the public's hands. Oh, 100%, man. JFK was killed because he wanted to end the Federal Reserve. Yeah, so I've got some graphs on that too. Guys, love says, fam, read my comments above. What we got here? Please send someone to help us. I just lost my mom now. God loves. Sorry to hear about your loss. Doom, 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 doom. All right, we guys. Carlos says, RTD, did you see RFK strategy that they want Kennedy family supports Biden April's Fools to highlight RFK candidacy? Did I see? I saw RFK's tweet. If it was official tweet saying that his family is supporting Biden, but he's just excited. He's just happy that they're voting in general. So it's still love between the family overall, even though they're not supporting him. So, whatever that is, once again, RFK doesn't have a chance. I mean, he's not chosen to lead the left liberal side of things. He's more trying to blend both together, which I guess makes sense for his standpoint. But once again, whether it's Biden, Trump, or JFK, neither one of them can bring about real change because the system is greater than them. So, we are in a position where there's not a single person that can get this back on track just because the currency's done. US dollars, internationally speaking, is dead. Like, we all know that. I know that. You know that. Everybody out west, out east, racing to gold know that. But here in the Western Hemisphere, people still want to believe and hold on to the last glimpse of hope that, the Federal Reserve note and U.S. liabilities will continue to be international reserve capital mechanisms. And they won't. But then again, the USD term as our legal tender, whether it's paper form or digital form rebranded through CBDC, will still be the choice domestically because that's our currency. Like, we still will use the USD. It's just going to be rebranded, restructured, and be it's going to require a lot more of those units to purchase goods and services here. Laura P says, I went to the movie Civil War, portrayed Western forces as murderers and U.S. government as evil murderers. Interesting. I haven't seen it yet. I will definitely check it out. Elon Musk will put next president. Watch the other part S of Kennedy's support Trump. Elon Musk will put next president. Will be next president. Elon Musk will definitely position himself as someone who can bring about change. But then again, he wears like the Baphomet costume and has that as his primary picture on Twitter, on X, which lets me know that man doesn't stand for anything of God, really. So he really wouldn't do much either. Central bank digital currency will be the reset. Politically speaking, technically speaking, sure. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What else we got here? Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so that's pretty much all we got, man. Yeah, just wanted to present a different case for what's happening here. Time will tell how it all unfolds, but people were being deceived. We're being deceived. We're being lied to in real time. You can't trust the media. You can't trust nothing that comes from a mainstream source just because they themselves are all bought and paid for mediums. They're propaganda tools that our government use. So, yeah, it's up to you to filter through the news, take bits and pieces, put it together, process it for yourself, and try to make sense of it. But in the meantime, knowing that it's all a distraction in reference to what's happening in the monetary system, focus on the price of gold and silver. In the days ahead will give you a true indication of where the system is heading. And then politically, we're going to continue to be lied to. That's all politicians can do is lie. So they can never tell you the truth, because the truth will set us free and we'll have them in chains and handcuffs. They can't have that. So, all right, my good people. With that being the case, be blessed, be safe. Hope you guys have a great day and have a great weekend as well. We'll be back at it Monday, because between now and this weekend, next 48 hours, we're going to have more craziness. But once again, can you believe it? We'll see. But all right, people, be best. Peace.